At 2 in the morning, I stumbled upon a message on the kitchen counter, her phone left unattended. The screen was lit up. I wasn't intentionally seeking anything. I needed water. A notification awaited. Can't wait to see you Friday. Miss your hands. It wasn't from her girlfriend or sister, but my best friend. I stood motionless, holding the glass as water drained in the sink, my hands trembling. I reread it thrice before flipping the phone over and ascending upstairs. She was sound asleep, her hair splayed on the pillow just as it had been for 8 years. I slid into bed beside her, staring at the ceiling till dawn broke, Friday being merely 2 days away. He'd usually visit on Fridays after his bar closed, sharing beers on the porch with us. My son addressed him as uncle, and my wife would bring out Chips, sitting amongst us, laughing at his stories, occasionally touching his arm while they conversed. I used to assume it was mere friendliness. Now I pondered every instance from the past 6 months, every laugh, every touch. Every touch, every time she claimed work took her away and returned with his scent. I remained silent that morning, refraining from questioning her destination. On Tuesday, I went to work as usual, indifferent to the recent events. My workshop is a stone's throw from our home. There I restore antique furniture, tables, chairs battered by time. My skills lie in craftsmanship. The labor is quiet, the outcomes predictable. That day, however, concentration eluded me. I found myself repeatedly sanding the same chair leg, only to burn through its finish later. My apprentice inquired about my well-being, to which I replied that I was fine. In truth, I was far from it, my mind preoccupied with her text messages, his name illuminated on the screen, moments I had unwittingly shared a seat with him, unaware of his presence. The urge to contact him surfaced, to inquire about their history, but I resisted. Similarly, the desire to seize her phone gnawed at me, yet I refrained. Examined every message, noting its depth. Yet I didn't follow through either. Fear was a part of me regarding the revelation. Another piece of me had already foreseen it. At 6 p.m., she returned home that day. Wearing the blue dress I had bought her for Christmas, she explained a meeting at the community center required professional attire. Kissed my cheek before leaving. Watched her walk to the car. Noticed her glance at her phone prior to starting the engine, smiling at its contents. Then I ascended upstairs. Her laptop lay open on the bed, never locked as there was no need. Sitting down, I opened her messages. Within 10 seconds, his name emerged. In less than a minute, the realization hit that this wasn't something new. The messages dated back for months, not discretionary messages, not concealed in code, just casual exchanges between two individuals no longer attempting to hide from one another. That night was tranquil. I keep reminiscing about your lips. He is working late again. Visit me. Scrolled deeper, found the beginning. A humorous remark about a poor contractor at her function, followed by an after-work drink. Another one. Then a night while away for a furniture exposition. That was the first instance. I recollected that trip, called her from the hotel. She said she was weary, going to bed early. Her voice seemed ordinary, somewhat remote. I convinced myself it was my imagination. It wasn't my imagination. I shut the laptop and remained there for a prolonged period. The house was tranquil. My son was spending the night at my mother's. It was just me and our shared bedroom from 8 years prior. I could have erased the messages, feigned ignorance, returned to sanding chairs and drinking beer on Fridays. But I didn't. I captured screenshots of the screen with my phone, scrolled through 2 months of messages, and saved every third one. Sufficient evidence to show the pattern. Sufficient proof that she couldn't claim it was a misunderstanding. Then I restored everything to its original state. That evening I was downstairs engrossed in a game when she arrived home and asked about my day. I replied it was all right. She settled beside me on the couch, resting her head on my shoulder. I remained still as she drifted off to sleep. I listened to her gentle breaths and began contemplating what transpired next. The following Friday, I informed her of an urgent project at the shop requiring immediate attention, a large dining table for a client departing town. She accepted without argument, promising to put our son to bed and wait up for me. I knew she wouldn't keep that promise. I stayed at the workshop until 10, unnecessarily sanding a table and cleaning an already clean floor. Every few minutes I checked my phone. At 10:15, she texted off to bed, long day, love you. I didn't respond. I locked up the shop and navigated the familiar path to the bar. Tonight felt distinct. Tonight I wasn't visiting as a friend. The establishment was dark, lights extinguished in front. In the parking lot, his truck remained parked. I circled to the backside. His office door, customarily unsecured, stood open. Inside, a refrigerator stored beer, and we often shared drinks when the premises were vacant, discussing business, life, or nothing at all. On entry, they occupied the couch, inert, close, and with her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. 2 empty bottles adorned the table, the television on yet silent. Her eyes met mine first, draining her of color. She rose swiftly, toppling a bottle that rolled across the table and hit the floor. He turned slowly, silence prevailing for a moment before he spoke. I declined to listen. Instead, I exited. In the parking lot, she followed, her heels clicking on the pavement, her voice calling my name as I approached my truck. She seized my arm, but I stopped, refusing to turn. Her rapid speech declared it wasn't as it seemed. They were conversing with no significant events tonight. Her voice trembled, broke. I disentangled my arm and confronted her. She wept, makeup-streaked hair escaping its usual clip. She seemed diminished, terrified. I asked for the duration. She fell silent, looked at the ground, then admitted it had been 4 months. I acknowledged, having already been aware. However, hearing it aloud made it tangible in a manner that messages hadn't. I questioned if it was only him. She affirmed, stating just him. I trusted her. Unsure why, perhaps because at that moment another deception didn't matter. She reached for my hand. I retreated. She pleaded, promising to end the relationship and do anything. I advised her to depart. She inquired about my plans. I disclosed I was unsure yet. Then I climbed into my truck and departed, leaving her standing there. I didn't return home or to my mother's. Instead, I drove. Windows open, radio off, grip firm on the steering wheel. I continued driving until daybreak. At 7 in the morning, I returned home. Her vehicle was parked in the driveway and the kitchen lights were on. I stayed in the truck for a moment, observing the window, witnessing her shadow shift within the room. Subsequently, I entered the house. She sat at the table, untouched coffee before her. Her eyes were red, her complexion pale. As I walked in, she looked up. I raised my hand, halting her speech. I declared that I wouldn't participate in this situation, refusing to listen to justifications, apologies, or pledges. I disclosed having seen the messages, all of them spanning several months. She placed a hand over her mouth, resuming crying. I stated my resolution, expressing that I had been deceived by someone for months and was tired of living that way, of pretending my closest friend was truly my friend. In response to her inquiry about our son, I expressed we'd work it out. However, I made clear that I wasn't staying in this house, nor continuing the marriage. She approached me, pleading for me not to leave. She claimed her feelings for me were mistaken and she had ended things. I informed her our relationship was already concluded. Then I ascended to gather a bag, clothes, toothbrush, charger, minimal items required. I could hear her sobbing downstairs, likely phoning her sister or mother. It made no difference. Upon returning, she sat on the bottom step, obstructing the door. She inquired about my destination. I stated I would inform her later. She remained motionless, simply staring at me, anticipating a change of heart. I circumvented her and exited. That afternoon, I discovered a rented apartment across town, signed a 6-month lease, moved in that same day. On Monday morning, I contacted a lawyer. The attorney was direct, devoid of theatricality or speeches regarding the sanctity of marriage. He asked for evidence, which I provided on my phone. After reviewing them, he affirmed it was sufficient. When inquired about legal action for the house, custody, or any specific matter, he inquired if I desired a fight. Informed him I desired a clean resolution, sought shared custody of my son, and aimed for fair division and closure. He suggested it would simplify things, expedite the process. I signed the documents that week. She was served at work on Thursday, unintended and unexpected. Didn't ask for it to be done that way, but the process server encountered her at a community center during an event setup. She phoned me an hour later, left 6 voicemails which I didn't listen to or call back. That Friday, I notified our regular gathering chat group about discontinuing meetings. The friends who frequented my home each week and socialized on the porch while drinking beer and conversing aimlessly. I simply stated it had ended. 3 of them inquired why. I didn't respond. 1 realized what transpired. My son inquired about it during our next visit. Asked why his uncle was absent, why mommy was always sad, why I wasn't at home. I explained grown-ups sometimes and mommy and I required personal space. He wasn't at fault, yet he wept and inquired about my return. I reassured him that our father-son bond would remain unaltered, yet I didn't respond to the question. The apartment echoed with an unsettling silence, devoid of a child's laughter down the hallway or a wife's humming from the kitchen. All that remained was me, an unfamiliar couch, and a bed I couldn't rest in. Back at work, I kept a low profile, completing tasks as scheduled. Each new face in the shop stirred memories of him, yet he never appeared. 2 weeks post-separation, I crossed paths with him at a grocery store on a Tuesday afternoon. He was in the produce section selecting apples. Initially unaware of my presence, I could have walked away, but I didn't. Instead, I approached him steadily. His eyes met mine, froze, an apple still clutched in his hand. We stood there, 3 feet apart, amidst the bustling store and a cart bumping into mine. Despite the commotion, I remained still as he prepared to speak. A shake of my head silenced him. I passed by him, proceeding without him joining me. My hands trembled upon reaching the cashier. The cashier inquired about my well-being. I assured them I was fine, purchased my groceries, and departed. That night I found it difficult to sleep, repeatedly replaying the incident in my mind. His expression, the apple clutched in his hand, his diminished stature, all images that haunted me. I reflected on numerous years, Friday gatherings, shared meals, him cradling my son, moments where I placed my trust in him. I yearned to detest him, yet mostly felt drained. The divorce proceedings advanced swiftly. She made no objections. She accepted less than half. There was no prolongation of the legal process. Her attorney submitted documents. Mine responded accordingly. We reached a consensus regarding custody, our residence, and all other aspects. We never held direct communication, not once. Our only encounters were during son-related exchanges, where we'd merely nod at each other in the car, she waiting, me escorting him to the door. On one occasion, she attempted conversation, inquiring about my state of being and sleep quality. Apart from these brief interactions, our paths never crossed. I informed her I was okay. She expressed she missed me. I remained silent and took our son indoors. 3 months post-departure, the divorce became official. The papers arrived via mail. I signed them, returned, and that marked an end to 8 years. I ceased driving past the house, altered my route to skip his bar, abandoned the store where we'd crossed paths, rearranged life to sidestep remnants of the old one. It proved effective, mostly. Our son adapted. Children tend to do so. He quit inquiring about my return, stopped crying at drop-offs, began recounting his week as if it were normal to have 2 bedrooms, 2 toothbrushes, 2 lives. I disliked him growing accustomed to it. Yet I was relieved he wasn't tormented. Work consumed me. I accumulated projects, prolonged hours, initiated teaching weekend workshops at the community college furniture restoration fundamentals. It filled my schedule. One of my pupils proposed a coffee date post-class. She was matured, divorced. She had compassionate eyes and scarcely probed. I consented. The encounter took place on a Sunday. We conversed for 2 hours. He disclosed details about his ex-spouse. I shared stories about mine, not all of it though. She indicated it becomes less arduous. I found her skepticism hard to accept, yet I appreciated that she expressed this sentiment. Our encounters gradually unfolded. They weren't deep-rooted, simply included dinners and films, normal occurrences. She didn't force the situation, didn't inquire about its direction. This facilitated things for me. My son encountered her on one occasion. It was unplanned. She popped by the store to hand over a book she believed I'd appreciate. He happened to be there, helping me smooth a chair leg. He inquired who she was. I told him she was a friend. He acknowledged and resumed sanding. Later that day, when I dropped him off, he informed his mother about her. I became aware of this as she later texted me, inquiring if I had someone special. I didn't reply. A week later, word reached me, through someone at the hardware store, that she was still seeing him. They weren't trying to conceal it anymore. Sightings of them were reported at restaurants and cinemas. While seemingly like an ordinary couple, I felt no emotions, or perhaps everything was tangled together and I couldn't distinguish one from another. It had been 6 months since the divorce, and my son inquired if I held a grudge against his mom. We were assembling a bookshelf in my apartment, with him holding the drill and observing me measure the wood. I wondered why he believed I was upset. He stated that she wept frequently, discussed me to Grandma on the phone, and repeatedly asked him about my happiness. I set aside the measuring tape, looked at him, and explained that I wasn't angry but had made choices with consequences. I assured him that I was finished with the situation rather than angry. He asked if I still loved her. I was unsure of how to respond, so I said that although my feelings for her would always persist due to giving me him, love and staying together are 2 different matters. After pondering for a moment, he resumed holding the drill. We completed the bookshelf in the afternoon, fixed it against the wall, and filled it with his books as well as some of mine. He declared it appeared well. I concurred. Upon dropping him off that evening, I unintentionally found myself in the old neighborhood. It wasn't planned, I merely steered that way. Muscle memory guiding me through familiar turns for 8 years. I stopped my vehicle crosswise the street from the house. Lights illuminated within. Activity was evident inside. A silhouette in the kitchen, another figure in the living room, taller and broader. He had arrived, in my house, with my son residing upstairs. Likely sipping a beer from my refrigerator. I should have felt enraged, something bitter and intense. But I didn't. Instead, I remained motionless, engine turned off, hands gripping the wheel. Then I began to chuckle, not out of amusement, but because it was over, truly over. She had replaced me, moved on, constructed something new in the void I vacated. And I realized I no longer cared. I shifted the truck into drive and departed without a glance behind. A year later, I acquired a house compact with 2 bedrooms. In dire need of repairs, yet undeniably mine. No reminiscences lingered. No spectral presences haunted its corners. Empty walls and floors that groaned in various spots, my son aided me in painting his room. He opted for blue, mentioning it brought ocean memories. Neither of us had visited the sea together. I promised we would in the following summer. His response was a smile, followed by a promise to hold me to it. A woman from my class moved in 3 months later, not due to my invitation, but because it made practical sense. Her lease expired, and mine offered extra space. We weren't romantically involved, yet we found comfort in each other's company. This seemed sufficient. At the same time, my ex announced an engagement. My son shared this news at breakfast, hinting at a forthcoming wedding and asking for my approval. I responded positively, and he questioned if I was sincere. I confirmed that I was. Since then, neither he nor I have crossed paths, not in shops or around town. Rumors suggested he sold the bar and relocated to another county, establishing a new establishment. I chose not to verify this information. Some evenings, remnants of past gatherings on the porch surface my thoughts, the shared laughter, peaceful silence between old companions, and simpler times before I learned certain truths. However, I don't yearn for those days. Constructed fresh Fridays, silent initially. My child, my partner, a fire burning in our backyard, no alcohol, no stage, just us. On a particular night, my son questioned if I was content. I surveyed my surroundings, the home I acquired, the life I fashioned from scratch, the individuals who remained with me. I admitted I was progressing. He agreed, indicating that was satisfactory. And it was. If you're still present, thank you. Now it's your turn. Express your sentiments below. Subscribe. Further unspoken stories are forthcoming.